sixth edition of the African Film Festival Turf. We are excited. It's Mastershare, and we are going to be sharing today, just finding out about the art of funding and pitching. So we have an amazing panel today, and we have Dr. Njoki Ngumi from HEVA Programs, and we have Mr. Timothy Owase, and he's a CEO of Kenya Film Commission, and Mr. Peter Sedufia, who is a director and producer. I would love to welcome our panel. If they're here, I see Dr. Njoki is here. Dr. Njoki, please, you can unmic yourself and say hello to everyone.
Hi, everybody. I'm really glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Great. It's so nice to... Wow, you look amazing, Dr. Njoki. I love that hair. And Mr. Timothy, are you here with us?
Good evening, everyone. I'm right here, and I'm glad to be here too.
We are excited to have you. Peter, are you here with us?
Yes, I'm here, and I'm also excited to be joining everyone in this conversation, and I hope to also learn as much as I give. Thank you.
Now, let me remind you that this is an interactive, you could call it a class, because we are all learning. We are all going to find out today from our panelists how we can be able to pitch correctly. And also, you know, when we are going for funding, how we can be able to attract the right funders. So now, please do not hesitate to text and write your questions on the text box. I am going to open it later for us to be able to have a conversation and ask the panelists the questions. But as of now, we are going to have some questions that are going to be able to be seen here on the chat box. So please feel free. I encourage you to ask as much as you can, because we have them here, we are able to engage with them. And I'd also like to thank Rwanda Air for powering this session, and to remind you that if you're looking to book yourself a flight that's affordable and that is comfortable, Rwanda Air is your place to go. Great, so now we are talking about the art of pitching and funding, and we're going to start talking about pitching. And I will raise this question to you, Daktari, as we call her, Dr. Njoki. What are some of the things that producers do wrong when it comes to pitching?
Wow, Christine, I feel like it's a bit negative to begin things that way. I think maybe, I don't want to say wrong. I think maybe I can talk about some things that get overlooked.
Yeah.
I feel like by the time you have a thing that you believe strongly enough in to pitch, and producers are like the backbones of a film, you know, they're the ones who can tell you realities. So they really know, they really know when to shoot down a thing, when to pick up a thing and run with it. And so I have real respect for producers by the time they arrive in a place to decide that they want to pitch a thing. And like, of course, a producer can be, maybe that's the job that you do for the film. And then you can also have another role in the film. So maybe you're the writer, maybe you're also the director, maybe you're in cinematography, maybe you're in another kind of department, but essentially the producer is the money person. And so it's the money person who moves to ask people for money so that the film can get made. I feel like sometimes producers overlook that you have to ask the right people for the right thing. I think it's very easy to get to really internalize I mean, of course, the truth about how much you need funding for your project. But then when you ask the wrong person for money for your film, so like, for instance, maybe you go to somebody who cannot give grants to ask for what is ideally a grant, right? And so even the person who receives the pitch knows that the only way this film will be made is not with a loan. It would be unfair to ask the filmmaker to make it with a loan. And then they say no. Then the filmmaker starts internalizing that there must be something wrong with my project. And so, you know, I take that no and I take it very personally. So sometimes it's because like it's the wrong person who got asked for the wrong kind of help. I definitely think that's one thing. I feel like a lot of times people don't realize that people with money are in the position of having to find people to give it away to. And so it's the same thing that we tell even actors when they're going for auditions, that the people behind the table desperately want to give away the role to somebody that they think is good for it. Of course, there are many problems in the industry. We have problems of colorism, especially where people want to cast people who are light-skinned. They want to give people who are light-skinned particular roles. They want to label and stereotype people. So if you look like this, you only play this sort of role because that's what people expect. And you find that especially with commercial pieces. There's a lot of problems in the industry, and those problems, of course, have to be solved. But then the people behind the table are the ones who have something to give away. If they cannot find somebody for their film, then their film won't get made. So on the actor's side, there can be a lot of pressure to kind of let off by also remembering that even the people behind the table have a lot of pressure. So while the nerves, of course, are there, sometimes it can relax them a little bit, and they don't necessarily have to be as kind of tightly wound when they remember that also the person that they're going to, in the event that they've got the right person, their pitch is a good pitch. That the person, of course, has things that they have to give away, and if they don't give it away, then they'll be asked, then why did you ask for it to give away? So there's chains and chains of people as regards the ways that things have to be given. So I feel like that's definitely another thing. Mm-hmm. I feel like people who make the mistake of not having a diverse crew, or at least a crew that is a reflection of today's filmmaking context, are really making mistakes. So if you find that, for instance, your story is kind of a very one-note story, and you're not necessarily telling a story of what's going on in this day and age, the things that people are interested in and curious about, if you're not doing a really good job of convincing people why it is your story is important, and it can be any kind of story. It could be a documentary. It could be a documentary about about the things that are happening in your country during a particular point in time. It could be the most frivolous and fanciful, beautiful little story that doesn't necessarily have to have a deeper meaning, but it is you who has to carry the deeper meaning to convince the person who is giving you money. You have to delight and enchant them with whatever it is your story is. And when I use the words delight and enchant, I feel like I also mean even with a sad story, it's not necessarily that all stories are supposed to make people happy, but whatever teasers of the story that you have to tell and why you want to tell it must give the people enough kind of fire to want to see the rest of the story. They want to see how you make it. They're curious about how would you pull this off. They want to be part of the story of you getting the thing made. So it's actually like you're also doing auditions for people that you want to carry along with you on your journey. And sometimes if you go and you're doing a pitch and the people are rude, they're unkind, however much you might want the money, you probably don't want to carry along bad energy, people who are rude and contemptuous and dismissive of you and your dreams, because all of that will eat away at the beautiful thing that you're trying to make. So sometimes it is you who has to bench people who don't work. They don't align with you. The energy isn't right. The vibes aren't correct. And things like that. So I feel like maybe those are the first three things that I would start with. That one, people have things to give away as well. So the person who's asking is also in a position of some kind of strength. Definitely, you have to really do a good job of telling people why it is your story that needs to be told. Don't feel like. Don't feel like the story is doing its own convincing. I think the story can do its own convincing, but then the person who's carrying the story along should also do some convincing as well. So maybe I can just kind of end there and listen to my fellow panelists.
No, Njoki, thank you so much for starting us on a high. Timothy, you are the CEO of Kenya Film Commission, and I'm sure you have seen a lot of different pitches that producers have brought to your table. What are some of the things that you've seen that if they could do it differently, they would have been able to get through to the door?
Thank you. I'll pick up from where Njoki left. When you talk about pitching, it's all about selling. The very first point that I would like to put across is that pitching is about selling what you understand or what you know. So the very basic that especially us in the creative sector, we ignore a lot is not understanding or knowing our product well. You know, you cannot pitch a product that you do not understand in terms of the attributes, the price, the market, where you will be able to sell it when it's complete and all that. So as far as I'm concerned, at Kenya Film Commission, we receive quite a number of applications as far as support is concerned. Of course, we do not have a fund yet, but we have a small program. We call it an empowerment program that is meant to support artists in a very small way, but it goes a long way to enable a number of filmmakers to produce their products. So pitching, as Dr. Njoki has put it, it's all about you going out there with clarity in terms of mind as to whom are you going to pitch to, what are you looking for, have you quantified your product in terms of monetary terms, what do you need this support for, and what exactly are you going to apply and present yourself in such a manner. So the very many shortfalls in terms of artists not being able to express themselves as far as support is concerned, I tend to think we lack what we call packaging our presentations. How do we package our pitch? I'm going to have a fund to present or to seek for support. How do I make sure that the team at Hiva Fund is able to listen to me and get my attention 100%? I think if I'm able to convince this team to listen to my pitch, then it's possible that we can start a conversation. In most cases, artists are not able to put this conversation from A to Z. So my advice is that self-awareness, be able to understand, to know yourself, be able to know your environment, know your product, and be able to present it the best way you know. Otherwise, it will be very hard for you to be understood. Yes.
That's true indeed. And Peter, you got your film funded, and they've talked about packaging. How did you package yourself correctly?
Okay, thank you so much. Sometimes it's difficult to tell as to whether the packaging you are putting up is going to be the kill or it's not going to work out at all. All that you're looking for is if this particular product is presented to me, would I love it? Would I be in love with it? Would I fall for it? That is what you even ask yourself in the first place, and also try to pitch it to colleagues, people that also understand the market to a certain degree before you get it to wherever you want to get it to. I remember with my quite recent film, I already secured a distributor for the film before I even started with the production, and then I mean even with the pre-production, I had a distributor. So when we had to seek for funds, it's more or less like what the vision for the film is going to be like. What film does it even look like? What are some of the reference films that we are looking at? What kind of color are we looking at? What's the theme? What's the tone? What language is it also going to be in? And then it's not just a matter of, sometimes PowerPoints do work, but I took the extra effort of even having a graphic designer design it into more or less like a brochure form to make it look like this is a serious person looking for money. And so the attention that he pays to the documents that he's using to seek for funding is the same attention that is going to pay to the film. Black and white A4 sheet and sent to you to ask for money. You probably ask yourself, is this guy serious? Like, he's an artist, but there's nothing artistic about even his presentation, what he's presenting to me to fund. And so we took that extra step to bring out or put into the presentation that artistic perspective, so that when this person is able to pay this level of attention to this presentation, then I'm sure he's going to pay the same level of attention to the film, and the film is going to sell. And so that is one thing that we did for my film. And when we presented it, we didn't have any questions. It just passed, and we had the funding we were supposed to have for it. And so that is what it has been, like putting in the extra effort, something that you wouldn't expect to do. Sometimes it's expensive, but it also pays off.
Wow, I like that, putting in the extra effort. And Dr. Njoki, you can tell us more about how does one get there? How do we get a winning pitch? What are some of the tips that you can give us as producers?
So this is the question about a pitch that people will say yes to.
Yes.
I like Peter said, if the question is there a winning formula? The answer is both yes and no, because there are some films that meet every criteria and still leave people not necessarily feeling warm. And then there's some films that will just come and completely take you by surprise. And then maybe even the papers are not necessarily submitted in the best way to see. I have sat on panels that have rejected a film simply because the documents were not submitted properly, even though the film itself was saying earlier, as regards making sure that you pay attention to detail and things that sometimes it can be easy to forget, especially in the heat of the moment and when you're doing a submission quickly, because sometimes also, to be fair, we don't all hear about available funds in the same ways at the same time. Some people will hear about available funds literally 4 hours before, you know? And so I feel like maybe the first thing I would say is definitely get help. Get help putting a pitch together. Don't go it alone at all. Get help from people who are good at the things that a pitch needs. So like what Peter was saying as regards, if you need to be able to fill in a pitch deck and you're not necessarily good at filling out a PowerPoint slides, maybe your skills are different. Maybe you're amazing with a camera, but when someone brings you slides, you don't know what to do. You get someone who's good at slides. You know, even if it's like you tell them, listen, I'll buy you lunch, whatever it is. I think knowing that you're going to get something of value from somebody, you always give them something of value back. So even if it's you're going to trade time, even if it's you ask your friend because it's their girlfriend who you saw made a really nice slide presentation and you're asking for a favor, and you're very open about the fact that you're asking for a favor. Those are the sorts of things that, especially when you're pressed for time, please get help. Please get help putting a pitch together. Don't trust yourself to get a lot of details that you need to get exact. Film especially is a very collaborative task, and I think people who receive pitches tend to trust groups of people, or people who come because they are part of a company. They're able to say, these are the people who founded the company, these are the people who are applying, this is the history of the company. Please don't feel bad if you don't necessarily come as a company. Come as people who have some sort of agreement and you have some sort of contract tying you together. So it's not like you're one person, you're coming to ask for one thing to whatever. If you're two people who are co-producing this film, come with a contract that a lawyer has overseen and written and you guys have signed, saying that we have decided that this is us, we're doing this film together in this context. We're really interested in X and Y and Z. We want to share the profits in this particular way. So I think things like that are really impressive. When the people who are receiving the pitch realize that you've really thought through all of the questions that we would possibly ask you about. For instance, if this film makes money, how would you divide the profits? There's some people who will give you funding on the basis that they're investing in the film, and so they expect to share in the profits. Come having had a plan to tell them that, okay, we are willing to give for X amount of funding, we're willing to give X percent of the profits of this film. We've thought through what exactly these terms would be, and legal documents and things like that will make you look really trustworthy. I think another thing would be that you need to quantify everything that's gone into the film and will go into the film, even if people are giving you their time, even if people are somebody who is really good at reading scripts and they decided that they're going to read your script for free, just ask them, if you are charging somebody market rate for this, how much would you charge for that? And then you put together all of the things that people have already given you, and you might discover that your film is already worth a lot of money, even before you've gotten a cent of external funding. You can come saying that already people have put X amount into this film, in services, in kind. This amount is already pledged because you got your friend who usually charges $500 a day, and your friend decided that they're going to give you 3 days of their cinematography services. Then you say that this film has already gotten $1,500 as a pitch, you know. I think maybe for filmmakers who are a little bit more advanced, people who've made things already, definitely coming with a good history of what your company is, how your company has been able to pay its taxes, how your company has had audits done, other films that you have made and how they've done well, honesty about places where you failed. I think because also the film industry can be a very tricky place in the event that there have been rumors and funny stories about your company, probably the pitch people will have done their due diligence and they know. So if there's a way that you can think of to present that story, but then you present it in a way that can work for you as regards the pitch, that would really work for you. So you say that X and Y and Z happened. We had this unfortunate thing happen to us. These are the ways in which we were able to solve it. We really wanted to be ethical in this and this and this. This is how we ended up dealing with it. We learned a lot, including X and Y and Z. This is why we're really eager to proceed. I think it's really important to just be honest and face up to the fact that sometimes you don't necessarily have the cleanest story. You come with a little bit of baggage. Tell people that you come with a little bit of baggage. If somebody was like embezzled your money and it was all over the gossip blogs, come and tell people that story. You say part of our story is a story of learning and a story of growth and a story of understanding that because you failed, it doesn't mean that you throw in the towel and you throw everything away and you give up on your dreams. So I feel like definitely saying that is really going to be important. I think maybe another thing to say would be, please look at who you're pitching to. Please understand what kind of company they are. What are the film projects that they've given money to before? What do the kind of projects that they fund have in common? What do they see their values to be? And if you don't necessarily have those values, don't waste your time pitching to people who you probably will not be aligned with. But then for people who your values strongly align as regards, for instance, these people really are interested in seeing women working in decision-making roles, then it means you really have to highlight the women working in decision-making roles on your film. And in fact, you see if you can make sure that when you're coming to pitch, you come with those women who are in decision-making roles so that they can see you're not just talking about them, you're walking the walk as well. I think that sort of thing is really, really important. And then just kind of look out for what makes you look your best. So if you're really, really good at doing, I think Peter had referred to it earlier, things like your character Bibles, your things like that, the ways in which you showcase your narrative, those are the things that you really need to find a way for them to shine. I think Timothy had mentioned earlier as well that, you can't just put everything down on paper in black and white. Remember, it's a film that you're pitching, so it has to be a little bit alive, a little bit dynamic. So definitely, I guess those are some of the things that I would think about at this time.
Wow, very, very informative, guys. I hope you heard that. Peter, can you add to that, because you've gone through the system as well, and you kind of like touched on it, but you didn't really deep down get into the nitty-gritties of how you are able to get your films funded. Can you please just take us through the whole part of what she was talking about, the trustworthiness, and how you are able to present your film to be able to be trustworthy enough to be funded?
Okay, so I think that some of the points have also been mentioned. I don't know if my mic is on. Okay, it's on.
Yeah, we can hear you.
As a matter of fact, my very first film, my debut, I funded it myself. I tried to seek for funding. it didn't work out because that has got to do with issues of trust. Like, this is a fresh guy from film school. He's not even spent a year in the industry. He just wants to make a film already. What is the surety? What's the guarantee that when we invest in him, we're going to make our money back? And so it was difficult getting the funding, and it's also difficult convincing people. No matter how much proposal I put together, no matter how much talk I did, it didn't work out. So I ended up funding my own film. I think I funded the first and second films by myself. And it was that I started talking to people that this is what I have been able to do, because all my films, when released, were like box office successes, like they were breaking records and making good returns. So I get my figures from the cinemas, and then attach it to wherever I'm pitching the next project to, and let them know that this is how successful my previous films have been. And so if you invest your money in this, this is how we are going to make the money back. And of course, all my films generally have been very successful in terms of international distributions onto, streaming platforms and film festivals and other platforms. So those were also things that I included in my pitches, that even apart from the cinema revenues that we're going to be making, we can make film from this platform, from these avenues, and from that avenue, from even film festivals. And so I try to give them like more or less like a recoupment watershed, like some kind of idea of how the money was going to be made back. And so those sort of gave the people that had money some level of confidence that this guy looks like a tried and tested person. So of course, if you want to give him, say, $10,000, can we just give him $5,000 for a start to see if it's going to work? Because previously they were not even willing to give $1,000. So if now they want to give a $5,000 instead of $10,000, that's the beginning of something good. And so those were the things that I was building upon. And there was this studio that bought the rights to one of my films, which has already been made. And so they liked it, they paid for it. So when I was making my next film, I took it that because I had a history with them, it was easy for me to get funding from there this time around. And truly, even though I still had to do pitching, I didn't go with just word of mouth. I still had to do my presentations, present it as if these are fresh, these are new people that I'm meeting. It's not like it's a known place. It's people that I already have. No, I didn't treat it as such. I treated it like these people can still say no to me. And so I need to still impress upon them. I need to impress them that this idea is going to work out. The fact that the first one was good doesn't mean that the second one is going to be good. So you need to convince them that it's going to be good. And so even as I included my history of successes, I still have to make them understand that every project is different. And this is how I'm going to tackle this project. And of course, I got my distributor involved, like I said, that he knows the market. He knows where he's going to get he's going to recoup the revenue from. And he also understands the market better. So I got him also involved to read through, to make suggestions. So I packaged the whole document with the help of a distributor. Of course, if you have a distributor on board, which is not easy for everybody, it's a plus for a lot of investors, because they know that the film is almost well thought through and ready for the market, more or less, to see. Because if the distributor also has a track record and has very credible platforms that he or she sells to, every investor is interested in that, because the question is, how are we making our money back? And the way you are making your money back is to get a distributor to sell the film. And so if the distributor is even on board the film from the development to the pre-production stages, the investors are very happy with that. And so that is one thing that worked for me in my quite recent film that I released. And so, yeah, that's what I can say for now.
Yeah, I like what you said, because this is going to go to Timothy, because it's something that it's very important for producers. And sometimes we don't do it. We don't involve marketers. We don't involve distributors. And I think sometimes that is a recipe of disaster. Peter, when we're looking for the money, tell us how we can be able to go about it in a way that's professional and in a way that it can give investors more, they can be able to trust us to be able to pay back that money.
Okay, so I think that's
sorry, Peter, I was going to Timothy on that one.
Okay, so that's fine. Yes,
but you'll come back to your response. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. First of all, marketing is everything when you talk about business. And business of film is just like any other. We offer services, we also offer products. So the very basics, I implore on all producers to think about a business plan for your film project. Even before you think about going to pitch, you need to think about your product or your business plan from A to Z, from the time of conception to the time of distribution. Think about your consumers. When you are undertaking research at the very initial stages, have all factors put into perspective. Because if you fail to do that, then you will miss many steps along the way. By the time you are going, it have to be in place. Just as Peter said, distribution comes at the very beginning of your planning. You need to know how you'll distribute your product, who is your audience, and how you are going to communicate to this audience. Because if you do not understand how you'll be able to reach your audiences, then how will you even produce this product in terms of a film without knowing the kind of, or the caliber of people who will be able to buy your product? So the very basics of marketing is to look at your product, your promotion, the place and distribution, all combined and put into perspective into your business plan, so that when you are actually setting the ball rolling, you are not leaving anything to chance. And when you are going to the funding organization, you are pitching with a full understanding that actually you understand your product, and you even know how much to expect at the end of it all. I know if you went to Dr. Ngumi with the figures, how much you're expecting out of your project, she will be very happy to fund you, because you're already aware on what you are planning to do and how you are going to arrive at the conclusion of your product. So my very basics of marketing is do your research well, plan well, have that business plan in place, and also have confidence around what you are doing. Because without confidence of whatever you are putting on the table, I don't think anyone will listen to you. Will be able to listen to you if you know what you are doing. And that's why from inception, learn from each step and learn from your counterparts. Remember, you have distributors as your business partners. You also have marketers who will be able to help you run the journey the best way possible. As you engage all this, including banks, including government agencies, because government is there to provide you with a platform where you can be able to run your business. You need to get your licenses, you need to pay taxes. All these things, put them into your plans. Don't run away from your responsibility. Thank you.
True. I mean, everyone needs to hear that. Don't run away from your responsibility. Now, sorry, Dr. Njoki, I would like to talk to you about the HEVA Fund and find out more about what are some of the funds that you're giving out, and some of them loans, grants?
I actually wanted to ask Timothy a question before. I'm not sure if you're going to answer the question. Of course, I'll answer.
No problem.
But then,
yes, please shoot. Go ahead.
I think one of the things that a lot of young or emerging filmmakers struggle with is not knowing, if I want to find a marketer, where do I go and find a marketer? And then also there's a lot of people who've been burned by engagements with people who've scammed them. So as a marketer yourself, do you have any thoughts as regards how do I know a poor marketer from a good marketer, or how do I know a scammer from the real thing? If I'm just kind of trying to figure out my very first project, or one of my very first projects, and I don't have a lot of experience. So I just thought about that question when you were talking, because I think it's a really important thing.
Even Samuel was asking about that in the chat.
Yeah,
Thank
and you have so much experience in that area.
Yeah.
Thank you, Daktari. It is true that there are many quacks in the market, but at the same time, when you're engaged in the business of screen industries and you are looking for a marketer, there are many ways on how you can be able to get an authentic marketer from the marketplace. To start with, I think issues of collaboration, linkages between producers, you will be able to get referrals. When you get a reference from a key trusted producer, I don't think you will go wrong. At the same time, you can also be able to get a good marketer from key listed associations. Like in Kenya, we have the Marketing Society of Kenya, which can be able to provide you with the classic marketers that are worth their salt. At the globe scene, there is the Chartered Institute of Marketing, which provides a listing of all qualified marketers that can be able to really help you in whichever form. But all said and done, I think you are, as a producer, you are the best marketer of your product before you even reach out to the real professional. So take it that way, that you are the very best, and whatever you put down, even the professional you bring on board will only but support your own ideas. That's where it begins. Thank you.
Christine, you'd asked. Thank you so much, Timothy. That was really elucidating. Yeah. And especially the thing about going to places where people have already been certified. I mean, that might be a little bit tricky for somebody who's young and upcoming, but then and that's where sometimes you want to go with networks of people that you already know. But then remember also that even people you already know can scam you. So you always keep your eye on the ball, and that it's not even just like upcoming people who are scammed, even people who've been in the game for years and years, because a scam will always reach you if it comes correctly. So nobody's beyond. Nobody's absolutely beyond this ability to be scammed. You had asked me about Hiva's general offerings. Yes. One of the things that we are known for is being able to provide different types of funding to different levels of creative practitioners in different places. Our main area of practice is Eastern Africa, and by Eastern Africa, I mean Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Ethiopia, and Rwanda. Even though we have, there's something that we're looking to roll out, I think towards the end of the second quarter, that will be reaching out to a few more countries. I believe the total number will be 14. We are open to exploring things like co-productions where maybe somebody is here, but then their other partner is not necessarily within the region. I feel like depending again on the kind of paperwork that people are able to, we have done seed funding before, but then the vast majority of our funding, unfortunately, or fortunately, it really depends on where you're coming from, is money that is paid back. It's given in different ways. It can be project financing. So people will take the money and then they say, okay, we want to be able to complete the project. Once the project is complete, we'll be able to pay back. And then they're able to come and say, this is how long it will take. This is how we want to be able to pay it back. So people usually have to have a payment plan. We have been able to give seed financing before, both kind of pure grant models as well as grant and loan hybrids, where the grant portion of the money goes to do a very particular thing within your company, usually something capacity building, maybe buying equipment, something like that. And then the credit goes towards getting your project made. I think it's important to say that proving that you're able to pay back credit, no matter how small, is really, really important for the next and the next and the next investor to hear, because people really like this idea that you are able to borrow money and you give it back, and then now you're like flexing. Now you want a little bit more. People are always happier to trust somebody who has borrowed money and given it back before. And that, of course, everybody is taking a risk, especially people who are now coming to lend you money, because there's people who will borrow, give back, and then they're kind of working towards this last big score where they'll borrow and then disappear forever, to some country where you can't extradite them from. So, I mean, there's any number of possibilities as regards being able to lend money, but then the best thing would be for a company company to be able to prove in some way that it's been able to borrow even a very small amount of money, even if it's a loan from a parent, a relative, a loved one, a partner. If you're able to, the minute you make it a legal exchange, you introduce a contract to the thing, you come and you show us this legal document, which was certified by somebody who can legally certify such documents in your country, and then you come and say, I was able to borrow X amount of money from this such and such a person at this point in time. I borrowed it for these reasons. This is what I was able to accomplish with that money. This is the payment schedule that I used. Here are my bank account details that prove it. And then even your finance person can come and prove that actually this is exactly the truth. This person is in line. So people are usually very happy as regards that sort of thing. It really, again, depends on the kind of thing that is open for application. I think it's really important to read, be very careful to read the application details when people say, oh, X and Y and Z is open for funding. It might be seed financing, but then the seed financing might be tied to particular things. Because, for instance, we had seed financing that was tied to cultural heritage outputs. So you couldn't come with something that didn't necessarily have a tie to cultural heritage.
Yes.
We've had seed financing before that is contingent on how many, what percentage, whether the company is women-owned or women-led. And by women-led, we mean having women in positions, decision-making positions, senior management positions, board positions, places where women are having an impact on the way the company is being run. And so there's some money that has terms and conditions like that. You have to make sure that you meet those terms and conditions on top of being able to come and do a generally good pitch, which is you're pitching a product, you're also pitching your company. So what shape is your company in, or what shape are you in yourself as an individual? Like, do you have a separate bank account for your for business financing? You know, things like that. Those are the sorts of things that people who handle money like to hear.
Wow, I love that. Peter, you can tell us about the funding that you received. Tell us more about that. I know sometimes people don't like to talk about money, but if you can give us some insights on that, we want to know, where do we get funding? Because I'm getting a lot of questions here of, oh, I'm a producer, I have a script, and I'd like to know where I can be able to get funded. And as you've heard, there are some countries that HIV are covering and others are not. So, Peter, you can be able to tell us from that side, from Ghana, where yeah.
So I think a lot of the good things have been said by Patrick and Njoki, if I got the name right.
Njoki,
yes. Sometimes it's you are either having a very good short film, or you have a very good document to show. And so the practice is that if you have a short film and someone that is going to lead you into the pitch has seen the film and trusts that this director can deliver or this producer can deliver, it works also well. Or you're able to give more or less like pictorial representation of what your film is going to look like to convince people. It also helps in helping them have like envision the projects as it should be, and then they said, okay, this project looks promising, so let's invest in it. That's also an option. I mean, I had with my last film, I had about six about they are based in Ghana, and with them it was quite let me just use the word easy. It's not disrespect to them, because some of them have been following my works in the industry in terms of Ghana. So it was quite easy to approach them and tell them that you have been following my work, you've been seeing the success of it. When I release a movie, it's all over the news, and it makes waves for some time. So I wanted to be part of this success story this time around. This is the story I'm handling. This is where I'm going to make the money. And with the other ones, they are international financiers, one from South Africa and one from France. I mean, South Africa was a whole distribution company also investing in it with fund, and then
Would you mind to mention them?
Gravel Road Distribution Group.
Yes. Great. So
and then also.
So that's where some of the other producers can also try and go and pitch for their content.
And then also I had Canal Plus International also jumping on board as an international co-production company. With them, I had to go the extra mile to really try to impress them with my documentation and give them every resource available to me that will convince them that this film is going to work out and the money they are investing is not going to be a waste. We are going to make it back and we will all be happy. To the extent that even some of them maybe had to buy, media has have to do a pre-buy of the movie before I even finish filming it. So like they are buying because of how I presented the film and even showed my previous film in terms of my track record to convince them that I already have some films that are on this platform. I have 2 films on Netflix already. I have this film that showed on Mnet. I had this film that showed on this platform and things like that. And so once I put all these things together, they find out, okay, this platform that your film has been able to go, they are not an easy to go platform. So if your films made it there, it means that you've been doing something good. And if your films can go there, it means that we can make some good money. So let's pump in some money and make some good money together. And so this is something that I use, but it's not always like Njoki said, like it's not always that you have some experiences to show. So it all boils down to how to convince people with your paperwork, how you present it, how you can make people even give you the money to make the film before they realize that, oh, you are not a good executioner as it was on paper, you know. So it's like that, and so there are a lot of people I've seen on the platform, people asking questions. How about if you don't have a film to show and things like that? If you don't have a film, then your presentation skills must be top notch. You must get other people involved. Where you don't have the strength to get people to work on it for you and make sure that you even read about it. It's not that you need funding, so just put everything together. No, you need to read about it, consult, because some of these distributors go for these film markets, and when you go for this film market, it's all an issue of pitching and things like that. So they know the format, they know what to present, what the do's and don'ts. So when you get them involved from the beginning, it helps a lot, and I'll be happy that some of them will be taking Njoki's contact as well as Patrick's contact, because they look very versed in the field, and they look like they are very resourced in the field, and they can help out with this. And I'm sure I'm also going to get in touch with them, because you never stop learning.
Yeah, you never stop learning, indeed. And Timothy, when it comes to government funding, and it's sometimes our film commission, sometimes we feel that are there budgets for us as producers to be able to get funding? How do we pitch?
Thank you. When it comes to government funding, first of all, funding will never be enough. I'll speak in reference to what we are currently doing here in Kenya. The Kenyan government, through Kenya Film Commission, has put aside some money to fund film projects.
Some money, how much
of
money?
Course,
I'm being asked here.
Okay, it's not so much, but money that can be able to support a few projects. At least in a year, we are able to support 15 or so projects that can be able to employ at least 3,000 people. Of course, it's an incremental support that the Kenya government is giving. But our whole idea is we need to move from where we are to a level where the screen industries is a commercially viable sector, that when you walk into a bank, you have banks having put aside products that you can be able to get a commercial loan to actually produce your film. Of course, the government is there to provide an enabling environment, putting in place the right policies that will enable funding mechanisms, co-productions, and also expanding markets. Of course, we cannot ignore the fact that all the producers who are on the platform tonight can be able to work together in terms of co-production and expand your niche in terms of how far you can be able to reach. A producer from Uganda, Ghana, Tanzania, Ivory Coast, and any other country can be able to come together and produce a mega film that can be able to get across all these countries. And the more you expand the market, the better for each and every one of us who is in this space. But back to your question, government funding. Our case, as compared to what Dr. Ngumi put across, ours is basically a grant that we offer. It's not a loan. Government is there to offer you room to be able to move from step 1 to step 2 and 3. And that's what we are doing, to give this as an example as to how, if we are well organized as a public sector supporting the private sector or filmmakers, then we give ourselves room to be able to move from where we are to the next step. Today, I would like to confirm that with the little fund that Kenya has put in place, is able to give hope to filmmakers to plan ahead, that indeed I can think about 2022 and plan to go to Kenya Film Commission and get some funding for my project. So you plan well in advance so that you target to be able to get this funding. How do you do this? Again, I'll refer to what Dr. Ngumi put across. You plan to understand the mechanism or the criteria that is used to fund these particular projects. If you fail to meet these criteria, then chances are that you may never be able to get funding. Other than that, the storytelling skills, again, government is up to see to it that we are able to offer necessary skills to the creatives. Earlier, we talked about young people not being able to know where they can be able to get marketers. Government offices are there to actually offer advisory services. And that's what we do at the Commission, be it on copyright and intellectual property, as well as any other kind of advice that you may require. The Commission is in a position to be able to offer this to you. And the more you get information, the more you get empowered. It is all about your empowerment that will be able to lead you as a filmmaker to the next level. Thank you.
Wow.
Christine, maybe.
Yeah,
sorry. Yeah, I just wanted to add. I just wanted to kind of echo what I had said earlier, based on something that Timothy said, as regards knowing who you're going to ask for what. Definitely with money that's government money, you have to ask yourself, remember when I was talking about what are the values of the person that you're asking for money. So if you're asking the government for money, you have to ask yourself what government values are. And depending on each and every government, you'll find it's different values. For some people, it's things like national cohesion. For some people, it's things like gender equity. For some people, it's things like unity across, tribes, unity across diversity, being able to showcase cultural heritage in ways that are important. So you might set your story in the capital city. Maybe for this government, they are much more interested in listening to stories that are coming from rural areas. So what are the possibilities that you can work with filmmakers from the rural area to be able to tell stories together with them? And then you find that your project has a higher chance of getting through when it's government funding. For another funder, it might be that they're just really obsessed with commercial film, and commercial film of particular types. There are people who only fund documentaries. You can't go with a fiction film to them. There are other people who are really, really interested in progressive storytelling. So what is your storytelling saying about, for instance, Africa and Africans? That is different than all the other stories that we've had before. So the thing that you're actually pitching is how different what you're bringing to the table is to the vast majority of things that are already there. So it really, truly just depends on who you're asking for what. Sometimes the biggest problem is a lack of alignment with the funder. And then at that point in time, it's not that your idea is a bad one. It's just that you went as an orange to a room where people needed apples, you know? And so there was no way it was going to work. So it's not commentary on the project. It's not commentary on the future of the project. Even if you have wonderful accounts, you have a wonderful marketing plan, if you go to the wrong person with it, then they'll have to say no. And then you'll hear a story about your film that's not necessarily true.
I love that. Information is key. And Peter, you are well informed as you, I love what you said that you've gotten your personal funders. And here we are, we have government, we have HEVA funds, and you are able to get your funding. How long did it take for you to be able to, let's say, pay back your international fund that you received?
All right. With my previous work that I had funding for, I've paid that off, and every revenue that is accruing from other online streaming, once that is accounted for, I give them their share or their due. But with my recent project that I had international funding for, because of the COVID-19, I mean, the film was released on 6th March 2020. And it did exactly 1 week in the cinemas, and then the COVID-19 pandemic broke. And so we had to suspend every screening. So as it is now, myself, the distributor, together with all investors, have had a very strong resolve that we will do a re-release of the film. And until that re-release, I mean, cinema re-release, I mean, like releasing the film back into the cinema, until that is done, we are not putting it on any streaming platform or any pay TV channel or anything, no VOD platforms yet. And so that is what we are still exploring. Just last 2, I think on the 17th, I think 14th of May, we had a cinema release in about 9 Francophone countries for the same film, because it was dubbed into French. And we are still talking to other cinema chains from other countries to release in their country. So until we are done exhausting the cinema aspect of the film, other areas are on hold. And so the people that have invested in it also understand that this is a situation and they need to have some patience. And all the projections we made in terms of time frame and things now, or timelines and things now have been renegotiated. And so that is still pending. And so as it is right now, I will not tell you that we've paid them back yet. That is not the case. We've not done that. And they understand why we've not done that. And they even agree on why we should even go the way we are going. And so that is what we are working on right now, still doing the cinema release for the film until it's ready to hit other platforms that are digital.
Nice. Dr. Njoki, what are some of we were talking about the terms and conditions also on this other side about paying back. Tell us more about HEVA Fund. What are some of your terms?
I think it's important to just kind of go through what the process of getting a facility with us is. It's quite long. There's a lot of people who fund who are really just interested in knowing that whatever it is you came and you asked for, they were able to give it to you. They'll give you an unsecured loan of X and Y and Z. But if you're supposed to start paying back in July, when July comes, they don't care. They need X amount of money, otherwise they'll possess your entire life, you know? So for us, we do things a little bit differently. We really want to sit down with the practitioner to find out, first of all, if the facility that they're asking for is actually the facility that their business needs. So at the point in time when the applications come in, when we put out and we say that, oh, this is the fund that people can apply for, please read the terms and conditions. If this is the kind of money that you're looking for, do apply. So there's usually an application form, people fill it out, people submit documents, etc. So now we look at the documents, we look at it via 2 panels. The first one is the creative panel that asks themselves if the submission has creative merit. Is it interesting? Does it have aesthetic value? Have we seen anything like this before, etc.? The other panel, and they are weighted differently depending on the kind of project that we're doing, is the business panel. And the business panel asks themselves, the entity or entities that are applying, what are they like as business people? How does money move through their company? Have they had an audit recently? What do their bank papers look like? What do their accounts look like, etc.? So now when somebody passes both those two, that's the point in time at which somebody comes for a pitch. So by the time you come for a pitch, it means that we think that your business could be a promising one, and we think that this idea is interesting. We just want to know a little bit more about you as a person. So a lot of people will come and fail the pitch for reasons that we've already discussed here. But then there are people who make it through the pitch. And so once you've made it through the pitch, now it behooves us to get to know the you that you didn't necessarily come to show us there. And that's what our due diligence process is. So during our due diligence, we'll talk to your employees. If there are people that you submitted as your references, people that you've worked with before, we will go and talk to them. We might even talk to people that we don't necessarily tell you that we talked to, etc. And so when we've looked through all of your due diligence, including company searches and what have you, then at that point in time, we'll call you and we say that we want to do what's called a financial model. Now, a financial model is when you say that this is how you want to pay us back. Is that possible with how your business is looking? And the beauty of a financial model is that sometimes our engagement with the company will even end at the financial model stage. And in order to do that, we require that a company will say that if they get a facility with us, they'll take the cost of the financial model. If we don't necessarily make it past the financial model, then they will pay something for the financial model, because it's quite an intensive task and it's very, very useful for the company, regardless of how the arrangement with us goes. And the financial model is kind of like doing projections and asking yourself, okay, this is how much we made. This is how long the project that we're doing will take. This is how much money needs to go into the project. This is the point in time at which we expect the project to start giving money. What are our best case scenarios? What are our worst case scenarios? And then now you look at all those numbers with numbers, people. So now once the financial model is done and it's a favorable financial model, we've discussed it with you, you're like, actually, I didn't realize X and Y and Z. Sometimes the financial model will tell you something incredible. It will tell you that your company can actually take more credit than you thought it could, or your company shouldn't be taking credit at this point in time. You do need this money, but then actually the thing that you need is money to buy equipment, because once you have equipment, you can do X and Y and Z. Right? So the financial model really is the truth teller for us. It's the place where we really do a lot of turns, even before, even after the pitch and due diligence. The financial model is what we call msema kweli in Kiswahili, which is the truth teller. If the financial model says you shouldn't be taking credit, then you shouldn't be taking credit. If the financial model says actually your business can take credit, let's see how far this thing can go. Then now for us, we can say, okay, tied to the knowledge that we got from your pitch, tied to what we found in due diligence, tied to what the financial model has told us, now we can probably offer you a contract. We've actually gotten to the point of offering a contract, and then the business actually says, we are not really sure that we want to go forward with this, and we understand that completely. Nobody should take credit unless they're 1,000% sure that that's what they want to do. So then if the business decides that they want to go forward, then we sign the contract and we proceed. And one of the things that we do is that we're always in touch with the businesses. We ask questions about how the thing is going. There are reporting criteria that people have to meet, and I think it's also important to say for grant monies and seed monies as well, and Timothy will definitely agree with this, that sometimes you have reporting criteria that you have to meet. If you get grant money and the people want you to send a video report every month detailing X and Y and Z, they want to see your bank statements, they want to see all of the money that you spent, and they want to see a recon of all of the money that you spent, you have to do it if you're going to accept their money. You know, there's almost no such thing, even when you're given money by your family, your lover, whoever it is, there's almost no such thing as money that doesn't have terms and conditions. People want to know how their money was spent, how the money did, etc. And so even for us, when we're giving giving loans, we are no different. I think it's, of course, important to note that things became very difficult because of COVID. And so definitely some people who have lent money will be a little bit more understanding than others. I know for us, we waived interest over a very long period of time. And we even kind of paused payback until some of the businesses were a little bit back on their feet. And even when they got back on their feet, we sat down to kind of recalibrate. What was our original term? Should we extend it a little bit? By how much? How are you thinking that things are going to change, etc.? So it really does depend on the business and on many different stages. But then always, as always, it's always a back and forth, because we really work to be flexible for the purposes of this sector. And also the businesses in our portfolio have shown us how important it is to trust creative business owners.
I love that. Njoki, very extensive, very informative. And I can see some questions here. They were asking about what's your geographical limit. Oh, sorry, Shefor, it's East Africa. Njoki, you were talking about expanding. Do you mind repeating that again? Because I think they missed that.
Actually, let me just see if I can pull up.
Whoever finds.
Yeah, I want to pull up. So, like for this is our most recent fund that's open now. I want to just kind of put it in the chat box so people can go and see what I mean by go and read the things that people are asking for. So like you can see in that one, the eligible countries, we name them. So here, key requirements for each application are your business must be registered and operational in one of the listed countries: Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, Tanzania, and Ethiopia. At least 51% of company shareholders must be citizens in any of these countries. So within one of these different arenas, because over here we are saying that we also fund film, TV, and photography, things like archiving, commercial film production and distribution, and co-financing commissioned work. Commissioned work means that maybe you're somebody like Peter, and somebody came to you and said, you know, if you guys made X and Y and Z, I would be willing to pay this for it. So Peter knows, okay, this person has offered $2 million to make this thing. When I go and do my math, I need at least 3 million, you know, for the purposes of, so then he comes to somebody like me and says, I have 2 million, I need this to make 3 million. I can foresee it being bought for this. These people who have given me 2 million now say that they're going to give me another 2 million later. So you, if you're able to give me X and Y and Z now, let's see what you can do. Yeah. So that's what we mean when we say co-financing commissioned work. It means you're not the first one to pay. And I think even the Kenya Film Commission are very, very good at, they really love commissioned projects because somebody else has already put their money in the thing. So it's easier always for the second and the third person to put their money in. The reason a lot of pitches feel so hard is because you're getting the first person to put their money in. But I assure you, the minute the first person has put their money in, it will always be easier for the next and the next person to put in their money. I saw something, for instance, somebody was talking about impact film producing, and that means films that tell a particular type of story for a particular type of audience. And so then for that, you really want to go and pitch to people who give impact type of money. If you go to a commercial funder with an impact proposition, they won't necessarily align easily. So I just wanted to say that as regards the countries, for the upcoming facility, I am not at liberty to say because we haven't written anything yet, and I can only say with certainty what's already on our website. But that one will be in about 14 Eastern African countries. So there'll be a few more countries on the roll. Please follow us on our socials. We are present on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you just search for @Hiva Fund, you'll find us on any three of those platforms. We'll definitely be saying something about the upcoming facility, which is a grant facility, either towards the end of this quarter or the beginning of the next one. So please keep an eye out for that.
Great. Timothy, would you like to add on to that?
Thank you. From where I sit, I just want to encourage each one of us to be on the lookout and to collaborate more. We have immense opportunities, and this particular sector is the sector that will change the future of Africa. Let us tell the many stories that we hold. These stories will be able to go far, and let's get organized. Co-productions will be able to help us tell these stories. Let us take advantage of the huge market that we have. East Africa alone has about 200 million Swahili speakers. This is a huge market that if you are in East Africa, you can be able to target this particular target audience and sell your product very well. As far as funding is concerned, this is an area that we all ought to focus on, be it government or the private sector, but we must be organized. Film associations play critical roles in terms of self-empowerment, as much as government focus on policies and legislative arrangements. We must also be able to organize ourselves so that we are able to apply what we call self-rule. When we are organized as filmmakers, then it is very easy to even engage government at whichever level. That way we'll be able to move forward. And as far as our financing is concerned, Kenya Film Commission continues to encourage you to really look out for opportunities that we have. Kenyan producers are very open to collaborate with you. Engage them. On this platform, I can see we have so many Kenyan producers who are here, and they are looking for partners. Please feel free to connect, and let's see how we can be able to support one another. Thank you very much.
Great. Peter? Peter, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. So
any advice you can give producers when it comes to funding?
I mean, Timothy just said it right. I mean, for my future projects, my main concern, what I've been looking forward to is more partnership, more collaboration, more co-production deals. You know, I believe that, of course, sometimes in marketing, the best place to conquer is your neighborhood. After conquering your neighborhood, you need to step out of it. Okay, and so now that I've been able to make some impact within my own country, Ghana, and even around the West African region, I'm looking at expanding beyond the rest of Africa. So I'm doing a lot of co-writing with writers from Kenya, from South Africa, from Nigeria. I mean, for those countries, those three countries for now. And so it's all in the quest to expand the reach of the film, because if a Kenyan person also says that I was involved in this particular project, it makes his home people also welcome it and accept it as one of theirs. And that also helps in extending or expanding our reach in terms of the audience base. And so that is what that's the journey I'm embarking on in my next project. More of collaborative works, and even getting production houses from other countries, like I'm doing with someone in South Africa, production house in South Africa, trying to team up to this, where we can also find it appealing to each citizen in every country that is going to fall within. And that is also going to broaden your market base, which is also going to, translate into revenue. And so that is what I am looking forward to. And so if producers are on this platform and are also looking at making an impact continentally before globally, that is also a way forward. Reach out to other writers other than just yourself and your friends within your country.
Wow. We are actually fortunate to have here the founder of African Film Festival, TUF. Kelechi, are you there? Would you say a word for us here? And in the meantime, if you have any questions, you can be able to take them down, and the panelists can be able to answer them before they leave. Kelechi?
Thank
hello,
you very
Kelechi.
much.
Welcome.
And what an awesome job you have done, Christine, anchoring this. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dr. Njoki, Mr. Timothy, and Peter, you guys are great. Smiling and happy to see all this and this many participation. Greetings to all the filmmakers that have logged in. And I think we have another session tomorrow and next. So this is really about you, about all of us, as we work hard in telling our stories. The words each of you have spoken are like really music to my ears. I've been here. That's why I didn't have my video on, just dancing to the tunes you are saying. And as a filmmaker myself, one of the things I try to encourage my other colleagues here is the type of stories that we tell. The passion that we have in filmmaking is glaring, but at this stage, as African independent filmmakers, generally, we don't have much luxury to play or fool around with camera. It's serious work, and like Peter said, Dr. Njoki also mentioned, the nature of our project will go a long way. When we tell a story that is about to make a change or solve a problem, I think investors or potential investors will take us a little more seriously in supporting the project that we are about to undertake, as opposed to someone that just want to get on screen and somersault and shoot guns. You know what I mean? So the seriousness of the story we tell is very important. And hopefully with the hard work, the team of TAF is working. They are also working to put Rootflix out there. Once we get to the stage where we are growing subscriptions and actually having consistency in revenue, this is an area that we plan to also participate in. That's the whole purpose. Grow it to where it's make enough funds to empower each of you to make film. And that's very important, because sometimes we tend to lose focus and get distracted with we are all about there's something about foreign platforms that we yearn, and when our films make it out there, we feel like we've been made, we've arrived, right? When you look at the history of those platforms, they struggled. It took them years that a lot of you don't know about. They are foreign, so I know when some of them started, and a lot of losses, a lot of obstacles before you even hear them in the international realm. It wasn't easy. Some of them took 5, 10 years, 15 years before they are where they are. So let's also do the due diligence to build. We as African storytellers, filmmakers, we are true storytellers. Remember that. The magic I see you guys do, if we have the half of funding or half of budget that some of these filmmakers here in the United States have, I know the type of magic you will do. Just for the little that you have and the quality that you bring in, all of you now, in this craft, because you have done a lot. You have accomplished a lot with very little. And let's use the same spirit to build our own platforms, something that we can call ours. And it will take time, but we can get there. We can make it done. We can get it done. While we participate in global platforms, we should have the opportunity to have our films seen and screened in as many platforms as possible. I encourage it, but we should also build ours. We cannot 100% depend on the rest of the world to showcase our work, because all we have done as Africans is work, work, and work. So enjoy the rest of the festival. The films are screening on Rootflix, and please join Christine tomorrow. All of us will be here tomorrow and next to participate in the rest of the topics that she'll be hosting and coordinating at this year's edition of the African Film Festival. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much. And we'd also like to congratulate the winners of the film festival. I think they can open their mics and brag a bit. If they have a question, they can be able to shoot before we release Timothy, Dr. Njoki, and Peter. This is the open mic session. If you had a question, you can quickly shoot before.
Oh, you mean the nominees? Yeah, well,
nominees.
All of the selected films are winners. I call all of them winners.
Winners, yeah.
And the nominees, they know themselves. We sent out the email notifying them on the categories that they were nominated in, but they will find out whether they won or not on Saturday. I think it's same time that we started at 12 noon Central Standard Time. That's 1 p.m. New York time. We will coordinate the award ceremony online as well. So we'll find out who is the toughest. Everybody is a winner, but who is the toughest?
I was going to see who will speak and prophesy of their win.
I see. Over to you guys.
Over to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, all of you panelists, for the wonderful job.
Yes,
thank you for educating us.
Yes, we really appreciate your time. And if you could have a few more minutes quickly, guys, if you have a question, please shoot. Our panelists are only here for a few minutes, and then we can let them go. Producers, are you there? There was a question here that was being asked by okay. This is from Ghana. Now, what can we do to raise such pupils to become great actors? Any organizations to partner in achieving this great vision is welcome. And this is from Watchman from Ghana.
Okay, to become great in your field, it's a journey. And for us here in Kenya, the Commission undertakes various programs that are geared towards enabling practitioners entirely in the entire value chain of filmmaking, starting from scripting all the way to distribution. So we offer training. You may be able, from wherever you are, please follow us on Twitter at Kenya Filmcom, Facebook, Kenya Film Commission, as well as Instagram. You'll be able to see the kind of program that we have put in place to empower the filmmaker at any place that you can be able to benefit from this. And again, as I talked about collaborative effort, I will not mind Kenya collaborating with our counterpart in Ghana so that we can be able to do programs in a joint manner. The Film Commission in Ghana can be able to work with us so that we empower our citizenry in this particular field as a joint effort between the two governments. At an individual level, please learn from your peers also. Don't struggle on your own when you have an opportunity to learn from those who've come ahead of you. You can be able to learn from experienced producers. I believe Peter is one of those people you can be able to reach out to, among many more in Ghana and other parts of this continent. Thank you, Christine.
Great. Peter, have you shared your email? I think, Timothy, you can also just type on the link so that people can be able to follow through. Peter, would you mind sharing your email just in case anyone wants to reach out to you for further questions?
I have a question.
Okay, we lost Peter there. Yes?
Okay. I wanted to ask a doctor.
Oh, yes, you can shoot with the question.
Okay, so I just wanted to ask, is pitching, is it about the story or it's about the business? Where should the filmmaker interest go? Is it about the nice story I have, or is it about the money I'm going to make? Which one should I take to be my number one priority?
It's absolutely both. If you ask me, I think all of us who've had film pitches have seen quite a lovely story, but then if the company that's asking for the money, you can't really trust them to handle money because they didn't come and prove themselves to be a trustworthy company to hold money, and those are business criteria. You can have the best story, it's been tied up very well as regards IP, you've really said who owns what, etc. But then the company that wants to hold the money has questions that it can't answer, then nobody can move forward. It is very unlikely that a story that doesn't move people will get to the point where people are considering giving it money. However, it's very possible. I think people also know the things that make money. Someone will come and say, I'm doing a reality show about X and Y and Z. And you can tell if you have the right data, you can say that X and Y and Z have done research that proved that people, when given the option, will watch reality TV. People, when given the option, will watch reality TV that has this and this and this type of contestants or participants, and then that becomes interesting because of advertising, etc. So sometimes it's not necessarily just the story; it's where the story and the money can go together. So I would actually say it's both.
Oh, hello, you have a question. I see your hand is up. You can shoot quickly. Thank you.
Do you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, this is about the product that is already finished. Say I want to target with pinpoint accuracy specific TV channels throughout Africa. What is your advice? Do I seek for possible as a producer to just approach the TV stations throughout Africa?
I think it depends on how much time you have. I think if you're looking to save time, you're probably going to want to go with a distributor because a distributor has already built the networks that you are looking to tap into. So that's kind of the direction I would go. If you are interested in this project being the one that helps you build the networks, then I would just kind of go and do it myself. I would, however, caution that it will probably take longer than you've assumed it will take. It will happen over a longer period of time. And especially if your project is one of those projects that needs to be released within a certain period of time to be relevant in particular ways, that it might lose you time to do it yourself, unless you already have a very strong idea who you want to go to and why you want to go to them. But if you're doing like a blanket wider outreach, I would strongly suggest going with a distributor, if for no other reason, just because they have the connections. You will have to give something, whether it's a percentage of profits or whatever it is, but then you will save much more in other ways, especially time.
Yeah, true that. We have talked about collabos, and from the composition on the platform now, we have East Africa covered. How does it work if I'm out of that footprint? But working with Kenya, for instance, I think you had responded to that earlier on, but if you don't mind.
Yeah, I responded to that earlier. I said, you look at the criteria. If, for instance, we say that this thing has to be done with a company that is domiciled within Kenya, Tanzania, whatever, then it's up to you to ask yourself, which Kenyan do I want to work with? Have I approached them? Are they agreeable to taking lead in this thing? And then does our application still meet the criteria? You're asking the Kenyan company. For instance, if we say that we're only funding a company in 5 countries, and then this is a company that you don't already know, then you're asking them to take a risk on you. So you actually have to pitch to people. You'll have to pitch the Kenyan company or the company within the country jurisdiction that you're looking to, and then you also have to come and pitch the funder. So ask yourself how many pitches you want to do. That's the thing. But I feel like everybody can always be taken by a compelling proposition. If you come and you say there's a co-production, we're doing this is why it's so fantastic. I don't think, and especially if it just kind of sits within the different areas of interest that the company that's listening to the pitch goes, is the different areas of interest that the company that's listening to the pitch has. It can really go far, even if it's a long shot. People can make room for a long shot if it's interesting enough. And interesting is very subjective. You just have to ask yourself, what do these people want? Does my thing align with them?
Wow. Dr. Njoki, you are just full of information. I think we could talk about this the whole time, but we have to let you guys go. Timothy, thank you so much for giving us your time. Peter, thank you so much. I can see you've shared your email there. If you have any more questions, you can always email them right there. If you can go to the chat box, you'll see some of their emails are right there. And yeah, it's been insightful. I don't know if you had one last question, but I think I'm just going to let the guests go. Thank you again from us here at Mastershare. Dr. Njoki, Timothy, Peter, we thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure and an honor.
Thank you very much for hosting me.
Thank you for having us, and thank you. Have a lovely evening.
Thank you so much for joining us here at Mastershare. And we are celebrating the African Film Festival here at TURF. And we'd really like to thank our sponsors, Rwanda Air.